Hey kids, this is Aaron from the podcast that wouldn't die, and Kevin and I use Zencastr. You think you're better than us, that you're using something else? You're wrong. Zencastr's the place to be. Who are you to deny it?
It's now super easy to record a podcast with Zencastr. Log in using your browser and start recording a high-quality podcast right away. Record studio-quality sound and up to 4K video with your guests. Go to zencastr.com/pricing and use our code DIEHARD and you'll get 30% off your first month of any Zencastr paid plan. We want you to have the same experiences we do for all our podcasting and content needs. It's time for you to share your story.
Only a fool will give up a chance for a 30% discount.
What went we out into this wilderness to find? Leaving our country, kindred, our fathers' houses. For what? For the kingdom of God. Let us pray.
Welcome to the latest episode of the podcast that wouldn't die. I'm your host, Kevin. With me, as always, is Aaron.
Hey.
This week, we're discussing the horror classic, The Witch, starring Anya Taylor-Joy and others.
It's that big-eyed girl from that chess movie.
It was a chess TV series on Netflix.
Whatever.
Each week on the podcast that wouldn't die, we discuss guilty pleasures and forgotten classics of the horror and sci-fi genres with a comedic twist. Aaron, what's the latest?
Oh, I'm railing against, like 5 years ago, AT&T, like in the part of town where I work, just took a crap. Where now suddenly, like, text won't go through.
Mm-hmm.
You want to send it as SMS? No, but okay. Oh, still don't go through. Let's try promoting our podcast while I'm at lunch. As it slowly. Let's try again later. Oh, it's Facebook is just finishing up.
Right.
I'm like, yeah, I'll be in the cold ground when this is done finishing loading. But thanks anyway, AT&T. Where I have my internet, my cell phone, everything. My streaming services, mother effers.
Do you know what's funny is we have, in Irvine, in our house, we've had 1 million different internet service providers. And we went through AT&T. And AT&T was like, oh, in your area, we only offer 100,000, kilo, whatever. I'm like, what? I don't live in the sticks. I live in a city of several 100,000 people.
Metropolitan
area,
greater Orange County.
Because usually they have different tiers.
There is no nature near you.
No, not at all. Usually there's different tiers where it's like, if you pay a little more, you get a little faster. And they're like, sorry, the most we can offer you is way down here. Kind of basically one step above dial-up. And I'm like, well, thanks for nothing. Thanks for nothing, AT&T.
You bastards.
It's a sad situation.
Here, on the other hand, whatever they've sold me last is terrible. And if I just pay more, my life will be beautiful. And they've suckered me a couple of times where I go to some new tier. I went from Uverse to, I had people on the poles behind my house every 5 minutes going, shit, we can't get this shit to
People
work.
on the poles.
People on the poles, and then it was some other shit. I mean, it's all a house of lies, and whatever they promise you, it just costs you more, and the service is just as shitty. Nothing's
100%.
Faster. I watched the diagnosis. It rises, drops, rises, drops, over and over and over again. Are you gonna send me some more routers? How many more routers are you gonna send me?
For reals,
bitches.
Let's
go back. We're just going to hardwire everything.
It's a total debacle, which leads us to The Witch. Why don't you give us...
Speaking of which, I think Wi-Fi is kind of witchy. I'm sure the more they boost the radiation, I can feel it like coursing through my body. I keep thinking one day I'll wake up and I'll get out of bed and there'll be like an X-ray imprinted on my white sheets.
There might be.
Of my bones.
They might be. Well, it's a whole thing. It's like, it makes no GD sense since we're talking about this. I'll plug stuff in, like with an Ethernet cord, into the Wi-Fi, and it's the worst Wi-Fi, in the house. It's hardwired into the frickin' base.
That is not Wi-Fi. If it's hardwired in,
no,
it is
I'm saying we have
if you have a cord to the router, it is not Wi-Fi.
Aaron, I understand.
I need a professional here.
Oh, sweet Jesus. Anyway, give us your 30-second synopsis of The Witch.
Okay, so like Puritan old-timey time, this family just ain't jiving with the rest of the crowd. So they peace out to their own little property, their own little bonanza, their own little house on the prairie, one might say.
Yep.
Except they got this fucked up daughter who I think causes all the chaos. First, the baby. She's mother's helper. First, the baby disappears. Then the brother disappears. Then next thing you know, the twins, mom's breastfeeding a crow, and fuck not, everybody dead except for her. Wah, wah, wah. That's it. She's the last standing man.
Fair, fair. Now, had you ever seen this before?
I saw it at the theater.
Boom!
I was not impressed. I was like, what is this boring piece of shit?
I remember this movie coming out and people talking it up. Like
big
going, hey.
And fair. They're like,
absolutely.
Ooh.
People were lining up.
This was artsy fartsy, like what's the terrible Demi Moore movie that we just watched? Incarcerations, Sepsis.
What the hell are you talking? Yes, that was the title of the Academy Award nominated Demi Moore film.
This got that same biz buzz. And I went to go see it and I was like, yawn.
Spoiler alert for our reviews. No, I had never seen this before. I'd never seen it.
Let me tell you.
Please.
I haven't seen it since. When did this come out? 2 or something? 10 years ago?
No. Maybe about 10 years ago. Not 2. not 23 years ago.
I did like it better the second spin. The second spin around, I liked it better.
So I should revisit it in 10 years, is what you're suggesting.
Yes, give it about 10 years to simmer, where you just forget all about it, and then you just focus on Black Phillip.
That's fair. Watching this, it was very much like I wasn't sure what I was going to get. I know it's a Robert Eggers film who did Nosferatu.
We had low expectations.
Well, he's kind of an indie darling for these types of things. People like what he does. I don't think I'd ever seen anything. And in my mind, this was going to be like an Ari Aster kind of situation, like a Midsummer.
If only. If only.
Hereditary. And it's pretty light, if I'm being honest.
Dude, I'm already asked for fan club. Sign my shit up.
You can have my membership card. Hard pass. I don't need to see anything else by Ari Aster.
You're going off the cliff. That's all I got to tell you. Your time has come.
My head is hitting the utility pole at a high speed. Is that what you're suggesting?
But the reality is that would be an amazing theme for a birthday party.
Ari Aster or Hereditary? Either one.
Not Hereditary.
Midsummer.
That's the theme.
That is a theme. Why don't we jump right into the highlights, Aaron? Because I took this many notes. 0.
I really didn't take that many notes.
Good stuff.
This is my thought. I know this movie is straight. You're supposed to read it straight. But what if you read it that there is no witch? What if you watch it? This is what I was thinking while I was watching.
Lay it on me.
What if you watch it with the eye, it's just this girl?
Well, and that's what's interesting about this is in your summary, you suggested that the girl was behind it all along.
Yeah.
I don't think she was.
No, I think Robert Eggers wrote this as a witch story, that there's a witch.
That there's a real witch.
That what they show is what's the real thing. But if you put that aside for a minute, it also works with the idea that this is just paranoia, and maybe the little girl is a psycho.
Yes, but you see when she's playing peekaboo with the kiddo, we see the kid like kind of get sucked into the forest a little bit.
She's an unreliable narrator. She's the one telling the story.
Is she? Is she? I don't.
I mean, there's no one left but her. Isn't it her story that we're living through? I mean, really, if you think about the end, is she goes in the house and puts her head down.
See, I understand what you're saying. I just think that, could you view this as this is all in her mind? I don't know. I mean, I guess possibly.
Oh, I'm not saying she's imagining it. I'm saying is she's the one who got rid of the baby. She's the one who got rid of her brother. She got rid of the twins. She's the one bringing all the harm.
Now, do you really think that's what's happening, or is this kind of like an interesting way to think about it?
I didn't think about that at all the first time I watched it.
Okay.
And I started thinking about it this time around. What if it's all her? And I'm not even saying she's a witch. What if she, as far as we know, she just took the baby and left it in the wilderness. Nature will take care of it.
I mean,
this is a hard life. Maybe she just wants to get back to the plantation.
I don't think
this nutty family, and now she can go back.
I don't think that's in the text. I don't think that's
not.
In the text.
I think it's a straight story about witches and witchcraft, and
well, I think there's definitely moments where we're supposed to wonder about her. What is her name? I don't even remember her name. Anya Taylor-Joy. I think there's times we're supposed to wonder, but at the same time, there are kind of third-person omniscient views where you see witchy-ass shit going down, where she's clearly not involved.
Always the last person. If this was NYPD Blues or any police show,
yeah,
she is always the last person
to
see the people before they die.
That's true. That is absolutely true. Now, if we go back to the beginning of the story, this is an ultra-religious, like a pilgrim family, essentially, right?
Right.
But they are essentially kicked out. They're banished from their community, and we don't know why. There's no explanation as to, other than they practice it a little more seriously, than the rest of the people.
I think they're a little bit more hardcore. And if you're more hardcore than the Puritans, Lord. But Dad was willing to go throw aside everything near the end to go back and beg to go back to the community.
Well, by then they'd lost one kid, another one was at death's door. So they're like, okay, peace. We gotta go back.
4 corn cobs and a couple of goats. They needed to lose a couple more.
They lost a child. They lost 2 children.
And the horse. And honestly, that's why I keep thinking the one girl, she's clearing out her competition.
Well, I mean,
this is what would happen in the wild, right? Other birds would push the other birds out of the nest. There's not enough for it to all go around.
I think I agree with you that this is a straight witchy story.
Yes.
Like, I think it's weird though, because it does seem like there's moments that you're supposed to wonder about it. You know what I mean? There's supposed to be moments that you're supposed to wonder. Like her 2 little twin brother and sister, who are always talking to Black Phillip the Black goat flopping around, right? Dude, he tells them things.
Those are the witches, I'm telling you. She should have lost those 2 to be right at the beginning.
For real? Well, I mean, that was there's the scene after the infant child disappears, and we see we see the old witch woman in the woods, literally like grinding it up in some kind of a butter churn, a mortar and pestle
Covered in
situation,
blood.
and then just rubs it on herself. Whatever it was supposed to do, it didn't seem to do much because you're still an old shriveled crone. But that's neither here nor there.
The interweb says it's so she can fly.
So she could fly. Now that happened. That's similar to Warlock, the Julian Sands movie.
Yes.
So, but it only works if you're non-baptized. Like they have to be the blood of a not baptized child. And that's when they start to say the infant wasn't baptized, and it's seemingly like maybe none of them were baptized.
Right.
So why is that?
There's some breakaway group, which is weird, and it's not explained.
No, right? So it's interesting that they have these kind of questions.
Right.
Because it gives you pause, like, well, what are we really seeing here? What is really happening here? Talking about this, I don't find this movie scary at all.
No, it's more moody.
It's moody. It definitely sets a mood.
Creepy. It's
creepy.
Not scary.
Well, and that's the thing. I mean, are witches scary? In this modern era,
well, I mean, if they take witches, a baby and gobble them up.
Yeah, I mean, obviously that's not ideal. That's not ideal, but it's not like there are certain like kind of movie villains or movie monsters that are scary, just inherently scary. And I'm wondering if in this day and age the idea of a witch is that scary. I don't know. Maybe it is.
I mean, this one was fairly aggressive. This isn't the Witches of Eastwick. This isn't the Roald Dahl witches. Although they didn't like children either.
They didn't like those
children.
Like
dog poo.
That's fair. That's true. Frankly, that's as school teachers, we acknowledge that the factual aspect of that. But
off of a side note, now that it's warmed up, I'm like, okay, everyone, now is the time that we all start wearing deodorant. It was cold, but now it's gonna start getting hot. And I don't want anyone being embarrassed like they smell like an old onion. Like you ate it in and out, but you didn't.
Smell like an old onion. No, look, I teach middle school, and that is prime funk time because they are, now the hormones are kicking in, but they haven't discovered like, hey, I'm trying to appear cool for the ladies. So I need to put on a little deodorant, maybe brush my... That hasn't happened yet. Usually that kicks in around high school. So this is prime funk time. Now, my male students, I have no problem pulling them aside and go, bro, handle it. Handle your biz, right? And if push comes to shove, I can send them to the nurse, and the nurse can hand them a stick of deodorant and say, handle it. With my female students... the extra funky female students, I'm not having that conversation. I just go, oh, the nurse called for you. And just pass it on to the nurse. This one needs a conversation. I do that with the lice
too. I just sent an email to the nurse. I'm like, I'm sending you a child with the creepy crawlies.
Handle it.
Yeah.
Handle it.
With girls, you got BO, and then they got an old maxi pad. You got the double stank.
The double stank. It's the double stank.
I'm not saying that this is me, but I have heard stories of teachers who just kept a bottle of Febreze in their pod, and when on occasion invite a young person back into the pod and force them to raise their arms up. So I hit him with, this person would hit him with a little Febreze.
Febreze ain't gonna do it. You need like industrial Lysol with bleach. You need the good stuff. That's all.
I also had the conversation that Axe is not deodorant.
It is not.
You don't want to smell like an onion and a pimp.
A pimpy onion?
A pimpy onion.
Sweet Jesus.
Between pimpy onions and baby prostitute perfume, these are the smells of my life.
The smells of our lives.
One of these days, a parent's going to call the person, whoever says all that. but they haven't called yet.
I'll spray around the child, like I'm just spraying the room, kind of, oh, let's get some nice freshness. I don't spray it directly to a child. That might be a bridge too far. But moving back to this. So this family are
This
exiled.
family all smells like onions, I can
Oh,
tell.
you know they do. You know they do. So they go and move out into the woods by themselves. See, like they say, like a day's ride. So they're way the hell out. They're like what would that be? 100 miles? 150 miles away?
Why would they have to? I don't even know. It's a day's ride in a car is like 150. I don't know, 300 miles. They're on a horse with a wagon. They probably went, what, 20 miles away?
No. If you drove all day
Oh my God.
in your car, let's say you drive, that'd be like 600 miles. If you drove like below the speed limit, it would be 600 miles if you drove for 10
They
hours.
leave in the dark and arrive in the dark.
It may not be 100 miles, but it's definitely not right around the corner.
And they're not galloping full speed ahead.
They're not.
in a wagon with carts and one horse, goats, and 5 people's crap.
Correct.
They're slow cooking it. I mean,
That's fair. That's fair.
They're walking slightly, walking rate, because you have people walking beside, just like in the old westerns.
That's true. That's
a
true.
walking rate.
So we don't need to do the math on this. They're not right next door.
Why wouldn't you just move an hour outside of the plantation?
Right?
Isn't that enough?
That's,
you might want to trade with someone at some point. You might need a doctrine or a surgeon or whatever, the barber.
100%, 100% the barber. They do some bleeding in this. Did you notice that?
I did.
A little.
A bleeding in the head. Let the evil spirits out.
Let them out. Let them out. So they're out in the woods and things seem okay, right? They're farming. They got corn and shit. And there's the eldest daughter. I'm horrendous at remembering these names, so I'm not even going to try. There's the teenage daughter. Then there's a son who's what, 10 maybe? Wouldn't you say?
Yeah. 8,
Then
9, 10, something like that.
Then there's the twins who look maybe 5 or 6, right? Maybe 7. And then there's an infant. And then the mom
like
and the
a
dad.
Newborn, yeah.
Like a newborn baby. So Anya's playing peekaboo, and this was an effective moment, honestly. Yeah. This is probably the effective moment of the thing, where she's playing peekaboo, woo, peekaboo, and then kid's not there anymore. And you kind of see something rustling in the bushes. Smash cut to, here's an old like hut in the woods in the black of night, a shriveled crone looking like Demi Moore in The Substance by the end, right? Like grinding, and then just rubbing gore on herself.
Right.
Good stuff. So that kid's gone. So that lets you know this is where we are. There's going to be kids.
Parents are already like, dude, you're in trouble. You lost the baby.
Yes. Rightfully so. And they're like, Bad babysitter. Now, there's a moment that I found it kind of funny. One of the twins, the twin girl, comes out and does a witchy voice. I'm the old witch woman. Something along those lines. Go back and watch it. It was shockingly amusing and effective. Yeah. But that's when Anya Taylor-Joy basically says, yes, I am the witch. And I killed one child. I'm going to kill some more, essentially.
Yeah.
So,
but I mean, let's face it, those kids are bad. So she was just trying to scare the shit out of it. I never believed that she was the witch or that the twin was the witch. That was a little girl who just needed a beat down.
Yeah, well, they literally said, it's like, get those goddamn kids inside. Hey, they don't listen to me. They're bad. So let me ask you this. Later, when they are accusing Anya Taylor-Joy of being the witch, and they're like, I can't remember my prayers. They start seizing up and laying on the floor. And she says, they're playing. When the dad picks up the kid and is like, I'm going to bash this kid's head in, they snapped right out of it. Did you know?
It's some Salem witch trial shit.
Yes.
Yeah.
It is. Because that's the thing. It's seemingly like, I don't know, they want attention. They're pissed off at their bitchy older sister, so now they're going to fix her wagon? Is that what this is?
twins are evil to begin with.
They are evil.
They're in there talking their little twin talk to each other, them and the Billy Goat, and look what happens.
Fraternal twins are the worst too. I think we can all agree on that.
I think we can all agree with that.
That's the mark of the beast, straight up from Hades itself.
That's science.
That's science. People who don't know, we have fraternal twins in our family. So we're
mark of the beast. So.
They do 100%. They do. It's Damien the Omen times 2. What's that movie we did? The Devil times 5. This is the Devil times 2. No question. But those were kind of fun moments. They're interesting moments that are in this. But to call this a slow burn is an insult to slow burns. I mean, this is a glacial burn, if you will.
Yeah, that was my feeling the first time I saw it. I gathered my friends none of my friends watch horror movies, but I forced them to go with me. And let's go. It's got good reviews, blah, blah, blah. And I was like, oh, shit.
I sat down to watch this with Lucy, and you're going to be shocked to hear she bounced after 15 minutes. She said... She said peace in the Middle East and fled the scene.
Now, I don't know if you've thought of this. Have you considered Ritalin?
I consider just tying her to a chair and doing some Clockwork Orange stuff with her eyes to make her watch it. 100%.
Your wife can put the eye drops in.
That's an important step. So the mom hates the older daughter for a variety of reasons, not the least of which letting their infant son get disappeared, essentially.
That is vexing.
Yes, but there's a scene where the dad's like, hey, I sold mom's silver cup for some magic beans. I don't know whether he just sold it for some shit. And then literally
he lipped off to the council, and then it was like, oh shit, we got nothing.
Right.
I mean, let's look at the provisions they have. Even after they roll up to this new house, it's already dark.
Yes.
So winter is approaching. He grew enough corn to feed goats. I didn't see them grow any human food. They have a horse and a couple of goats.
Yeah.
What were they going to live on all winter long? Because New England, it's going to be a long winter.
Well, I mean, this is.
I didn't see 6 months worth of wood. I didn't see 6 months worth of food.
Now, you want goats for milk. I get
milk
it.
And meat.
But the moment you say we're going for meat, then you're thinning the herd, literally, right?
Right.
I mean, maybe eventually, but you can't. If you have 3 goats, I mean, when do you start slaughtering the goats? I don't know what the answer to that question is.
When you run out of feed for them, which is what they're going to do. Yeah. They grew nothing but corn, and I swear it was like they had like enough corn in my front yard. That's how much corn they had.
Right. It was like 2 stalks, essentially. It was like, I hope this works out.
It was ridiculous. It was ridiculous. And they never even finished harvesting because they always had to abandon the field to go look for their missing children every 15 minutes. So then the storm comes. So now all the dried corn is going to be moldy.
Right. Which is a thing that happens. But so they go hunting. Essentially. And that's when the dad admits, I sold mom's silver cup for traps. Because if we can't grow the food we need to live, then we're going to have to hunt for it. Like, they see like one freaking rabbit at one point. Like, that's all they got. That ain't gonna do it. You're going to need more than that.
I mean, we're looking at some Donner Party thing.
Yes.
If this was Oregon Trail, they would have all been dead of dysentery at this point.
Which has nothing to do with it, but yes, why not throw a little dysentery in there?
They're gone. I mean, clearly they didn't know what the it should have been like, husband, thou shalt go back in and prostrate yourself on the ground and beggeth forgiveness to the elders.
Prostate yourself? Is that what you're suggesting? Or prostrate? I love that I get to mansplain all the time. It's half the fun of doing the podcast.
I'm gonna prostate your prostate.
Where's my prostate?
You're gonna have to hand that over too.
100%. I don't even know what I was gonna say. Oh, Oregon Trail.
That's because God struck you down.
No question, it's the devil's work. In Oregon Trail, is there a possibility of cannibalism? It's like, whoa, you're snowed in.
It would have been more interesting.
Hell yes, it would have been. That's all I'm saying. Good grief. It can't just all be, do you ford the river, right? Occasionally it's gotta be like,
old witch pounded down the baby to make pemmican.
Pemmican. for the journey to the North Pole. Interesting. Sweet Jesus. So later, my whole point of mentioning the silver cup, the whole goddamn point, is that later the mom is yelling at the daughter for misplacing her silver cup, and the dad doesn't say zippity doo dah.
That's why they all die, because they're bad parents.
They're bad, right? For somebody who's like so devout, you think you would jump in. And also they make the point that the son lies about where they were because the kids aren't supposed to go in the forest, and the dad took the kid with him. Which tells you
Mama is a handful, and we see that.
Mama's a handful. That is true.
After she's breastfeeding a crow. My boob hurt so much.
That was rough.
That was rough.
What's interesting is she was in Game of Thrones. Do you remember her on Game of Thrones?
She was in Game of Thrones.
She was in Game of Thrones.
See her. Who was she?
Well,
somebody bad.
Speaking of breastfeeding, she
was the lady in the tower with the moon roof who had the 7-year-old child breastfeeding. Yes. What's her name? She was the sister of Aaron. House Aaron.
She was House Aaron. She was the sister of Catelyn Stark.
Yes.
Who's married to Ned Stark. Yes.
It always comes back to Game of Thrones.
It all comes back. 100%. So later, they're like, we got to ship off our daughter, like have her. At some point, you do have to kind of, unless you're going to do some incest shit, you got to move the older sister off, get her married somewhere.
The 9-year-old's already checking out sister's tits, so it might be
multiple times.
Yeah.
Multiple times. I'm like, bro. But I guess it's like it's prison rules at that point. If there's nobody else, if it's her or the old witch woman, I mean, I guess you roll the dice at that stage of the game. I don't know.
I mean, honestly, maybe the son too. I mean, I'm just thinking of a later time like Charles Dixon. This is the time you would start apprenticing these kids out. You can't afford to feed all these.
No. Well, that's the thing. You kind of there's a fine line you walk because you want to have kids who will take care of you because there's no Social Security. So when you get old and infirmed, you want kids around who grow up and become strapping, productive members of society to take care of you in your old age. But when they're little, they're just extra mouths to feed. When you've got one rotten corn cob that they're all chewing on together, that's a problem. That's a problem. Agreed. That's why you don't get exiled. Don't get exiled is the moral of the story. That's
right. Take my children back. They were not sassy mouth like I was and my wicked husband.
So later, the younger brother's like, hey, I'll go ride somewhere. Where was he riding? Where was the younger brother going to ride to save the day so his sister wouldn't have to leave? Do you remember where the hell he thought he was going?
He was trying to retrace these traps, and then he thought he saw game, so he's going after the rabbit.
That's what it was all
the demonic rabbit. So and then he heard he kept being drawn farther and farther away.
Correct. So it was all just, I'll come home with a bunch of food, and then they won't have to send my sister away, essentially.
Correct.
Okay, fair enough. But it's interesting because they get split up. And again, this kid's like 10 or 11. He is young. Right. And he's got the
knocked out. She's knocked out.
Right. They got separated. She fell off the horse. He keeps going. He's got the horse, their only horse, and their only rifle.
Right.
And he goes deep into the forest, finds literally the frickin' gingerbread house, Hansel and Gretel style, and a saucy minx comes out in a corset, and that was it. He's like, I'm in. Whatever the devil take me, I'm in.
Here's a weird note.
Please.
Wouldn't the horse eventually just walk back?
Theoretically, unless it was somehow killed by the witch people.
I mean, when I took horsemanship, we always had to be careful that we didn't ride quickly back, because then the horse was, they say it was barn sour. They would just take off. So we always had to be careful they didn't go back home too quickly. But the horse.
What does that mean? What does barn sour mean?
Like it's going to go take off like a shot right to the barn, and you're going to get knocked off. Because it knows it's going home and you're going to be off its back. So
you got to, going home, you got to
slow it down.
Slow it down. Gotcha.
Right. You leave, you can go galloping, but you don't want to go galloping back.
Interesting.
At least that's what they had to do in my PE class called horsemanship.
Where did you take PE?
At my boarding school in Arizona,
okay.
at the Villa.
Palm Springs High, there was a whole hell of a lot of horsemanship, if I'm being honest. So interesting. Okay.
The Villa had horsemanship, fencing, bowling, golf, and then if you were on financial restriction, general PE.
You did not get to participate if you were a scholarship kid.
Your parents were a little bit slow paying that monthly bill.
They just rolled out an old bald basketball and said, just dribble this in the corner.
We're literally out in the middle of the desert. So it might be mud football one day.
Kick the can.
I don't know.
Stickball.
I tried to avoid general PE as much as possible.
General population. Oh, sweet Jesus. That's hilarious. So now the son's missing. But he later comes back like naked as a jaybird, clearly defiled, and got the fever and all this stuff. Did you think they were going to save him, or do you think that was just ball game?
No, he didn't look good.
He didn't look good.
No good was going to come of that.
Well, they did a little bleeding on him. That didn't do jack dippity do. Then they tried to pray for him. Now, Anya Taylor-Joy knew all the prayers, but this is when the twins were like, oh, I've forgotten my prayers. I can't. Oh, I'm laying on the floor. So
kicking and squealing and flopping around. Honestly, it was the Crucible.
It was the Crucible, 100%, right? And then he dies. He does drop dead. But that's the thing about this, where it's like, there's real witches in this shit. So is it possible that they are actually suffering from some witch shit?
I would say yes, until the moment that Dad said, I'm going to bash your brains in. They're like, but never mind.
Right. That was kind of damning.
So
truly,
there still can be witch things, but not those little fuckers. That's what
but they were talking to Black Phillip all the time.
Who told you to buy that crazy fucked up goat, man? I spent like an hour trying to Google what kind of goat is that, and can I have it in my backyard for Halloween? I was like, that was the most insane goat that I had ever seen in my life. I mean, my kids were in 4-H.
And they called it Black Phillip.
We had a pet goat.
Was it Black Phillip?
It was not. Its name was Krabby Patty, and it was a pygmy goat.
Didn't have huge, like, bighorn sheep horns to get at you?
It does not.
Well,
they have you cut the horns off for showmanship.
But not evidently in old New England. Then the horns were allowed to
get in the witch section of the feed store.
That does seem insane. I mean, clearly, for how religious these people are, the fact they have this jet black goat that they call Black Phillip, that your twins are constantly saying, and it tells us things.
I love how the parents skipped over all of that with all the paranoia and everything. We're not going to listen that our kids talk to the goat, whisper to the goat, and dance around and chant and sing songs about the goat and tell us. Those kids are so freaking hyperactive. They were out of control. I mean, you got to hand it to those little kid actors. Were fucking amazing.
They were good. They were good. But that's
I hate children actors. They're terrible. But not in this case. Those kids were deliciously horrible.
Well, it's interesting. When I saw it chapter 1 or whatever it's called, volume 1, I was so impressed with all those actors. Now they were a little bit older than the kids in this thing, but they were dynamite. So much so that I was excited to go see it chapter 2 with actors, adult actors who I like. And I'm like, this movie sucks.
Part 2. Yeah.
Part 2 blew.
Is it because they cut the circle jerk, the group masturbation? Is that why?
It wasn't a circle jerk. It was a gangbang. It was worse.
Okay.
It was a freaking like prepubescent, like in typical Stephen King fashion, where there's always some parts of it that are just like, why are you including? Why is this part of the story, Steve-O? I mean, he's not as bad as Clive Barker, but that's
a whole different thing.
That's a whole different stratosphere. But he'll sprinkle in bizarre where you're like, what? Why is this in there? No, they cut that out of it. So,
that's interesting.
Yeah, good times. So at the end of this thing, you've got the husband is gored by the goat. The kids, the twins are killed off camera. We don't know what happened to them. They're just gone. They're gone.
I missed it, but it said at one point, I mean, it's implied that the witch killed them. Well, she was off sucking the goats.
What happened is, after all this shit goes down and the brother dies of whatever, dysentery, for all we know, the dad throws the twins and Anya Taylor-Joy into the barn or whatever, where all the goats are, and they nail it shut and just says, F it. I'm leaving you guys out here. In the middle of the night, they hear a noise because they're all kind of half asleep.
Crashing, like the roof is crashing in.
Well, they look over and it's the old witch woman who's suckling from one of the goats or eating one of the goats. Unclear. But she turns and kind of gives the kids a scary look. She turns around, does some shit like that. Next morning, the barn is exploded. There's like sheep, like viscera exploded everywhere. And the only one still sitting there is Anya Taylor-Joy.
I mean, there has to be witchery because the house is 5 feet away. It's not like it's probably well insulated. You would have heard all this.
You think?
Unless that was the
that was the night where the old crow comes in and is pecking at the bosom of the woman. So there was some shit going down that night.
Did Mama sign the book?
Unclear.
She was offered the book.
She was offered the book.
It was offered I thought one of the most interesting times is when they were all locked in the barn.
Yeah.
And the older sister's talking to the twins. And one of the twins was like, I don't know. Maybe I am possessed.
Well, I think she asked them, do you really talk to this goat? You know, and they don't really answer. They don't really there's no reveal about that. So they're gone.
No, but they make a comment like she asked them point blank if they're witches.
It's
and
inconclusive.
One of them says, I'm not really sure.
It's inconclusive. So who
knows? If you say you're not sure you're a witch, you're a witch.
Well, but that's the thing.
Most of us are pretty solid, whether we are witches or not.
There. But that's the thing, is it's like we talked about it a second ago. You basically, Black Phillip, who's like later revealed there's like a satanic character who walks up with like spurs or whatever, and he offers you a book, and if you sign the book, you're selling your soul.
Right.
And at that point, you are a witch, and you get certain witchy powers or something. So her whole family is either gone or dead. And at this point, she talks to Black Phillip, the goat, thinking that, and this is why she wasn't a witch up to this point. Because she's going like, hey, talk to me, goat. Talk to me, goat. Goat doesn't say anything. And she starts to get up, and then you hear the voice.
A whisper.
And now the voice, now this deep voice is talking to her. And she sits there, and then you see kind of this figure walking behind her, and she signs, which seems strange. Was this just kind of like, I'm here in the middle of the woods, everybody's dead, I don't know what else I'm going to do, so I might as well...
Isn't that what I said at the beginning of this discussion?
No.
Yes. Basically, everybody's dead. She goes in the house and puts her head down. And I think everything after that is just her imagination as she waits to die.
Okay, well, that's my question to you is, not is this a Jacob's Ladder scenario where it's all a hallucination, but instead, is this a I'm screwed here, so I might as well sell my soul and get some witchy powers? Because otherwise, why would she do this? Why would she sell her soul to the devil after witnessing all this carnage?
Me, personally, would start walking to the plantation.
Wouldn't you? 100%.
I think she's always had the wanderlust, and she was not as good and pure, and she talks about that. She doesn't believe her prayers. I think she was always tipping.
She's always
so I don't think this was a stretch.
Clearly not, because then she's wandering through the forest.
You'd be hysterical, right? Your whole family's dead.
Of course. Well, she had to murder her mom to save her life. Mom's about to strangle her to death.
And yet she didn't seem that emotional about the whole situation.
But is that just poor acting? That's always those questions that I have to ask. Is this a choice?
It's a choice. It's a choice, okay. And it all kind of feeds back into it's just her.
So by the end, she is the witch.
By the end, she is the witch.
But she's not the witch the rest of the time. Unless this is you think that there's some secret meaning or something. I think there is.
I say either there is a witch or there never was a witch.
Okay, so you're saying
and if there never was a witch, she's not a witch at the end either. That's her with her head down in the house.
So, but what's your theory is either there is a witch in the woods,
right,
or there's no witch ever,
or there's no witch at all.
Right. I think that's true. That's the only way to interpret this.
Yes.
Absolutely.
I think that's absolutely it. And who knew they were in such a popular area? It seemed like they had no neighbors, but when it's witch party time, suddenly there's like 5, 6 just witches in that area.
Correct. There's 8 naked clowns in the woods doing a witch dance. Right.
They didn't have the baby fat tea until they got there, so they were all in walking distance of this bonfire.
Well, and it's like witches are people who sold their soul to get witchy powers, right?
Right.
So this is the new world, right? So where the hell did these bitches come from?
That's what I'm saying.
Right. They had to come from somewhere.
They all came from the plantation. Where's Sarah Goodwife this hallowed eve?
That's it.
I'm not sure, Proctor Jones.
Let's go behind the scenes, shall we?
Dude, the best behind the scenes are all the stories about Black. Is it Black Phillip? Yeah, it's Black Phillip.
Yep.
I keep wanting to call him Black Pete, but that's the unfortunate black character at the holidays in Nordic countries.
That's a whole different kettle of fish.
Not a goat. So Black Phillip, the beautiful stories are about how insane this real goat was. And what a nightmare he was to have on set.
Correct.
So the best part is one of the creepy parts where you see the goat rearing up on its hind legs in front of the twins. What you don't see is there's a rope holding on to this goat because it's about ready to crash on these poor little kids. And the fact that goat did ram into the actor who played the father, busting up a couple of ribs.
Yeah. That's serious business.
Now, the handler claims she doesn't know what all the story is. That Philip is retired, living his best stud farm life in Canada, and doesn't remember anything negative. But everybody toasted the death of the goat, or their wish for the death of the goat by the end.
Everybody toasted the death of the goat. That doesn't sound good. Sweet Jesus. The spelling of the title, The Witch, they used 2 V's. Yes. Which is how it would have been spelled at the time, because the letter W was not yet in common use at the time.
So why don't we call it double V?
Double V. In Spanish, sometimes they call it doble U, and sometimes they call it doble V, which means double V. So it just depends.
That's French. W.
According to the cinematographer, the film was shot mostly with available and natural light.
Well, how about that?
How about that? It was shot in only 25 days.
Yeah.
They talk about that the hare appears frequently in this film. In colonial New England, hares were considered magical creatures in their own right.
And I thought you meant the hair on people's heads.
No, the fucking rabbit.
Oh, yes, everyone had hair, Kevin.
They were often
it looked like an Albrecht Dürer rabbit, but with devil eyes.
They were often associated with witches, either as a milk hare, which stole or spoiled milk from the farm animals, or the witch themselves, who were thought to be able to turn into a hare in order to spy and influence people.
I don't know why you want to turn into a prey animal. That seems like an eagle's going to swoop down on you.
Fair. According to Robert Eggers, the director, he did not direct the son, Harvey Scrimshaw, which is an amazing name.
That's amazing.
Though through most of his difficult scenes in those films. In those scenes, he was directed by the actor Ralph Ineson, who plays his father. And this happens because Eggers had no children at the time, while Ineson was a father of 2 and frequently works as an acting instructor to children and knew better how to coach the boy. So there you go.
So Eggers is a bad director.
He's a bad director, 100%.
Got you.
They said this. There was like a screen like writing where it said like most of the film's dialogue and stories were based on writings from the time. Can you be more specific?
Yeah.
Whatever this means.
They use these letters and some of these words in writings of the time.
Right. William is shown holding a rotten cob of corn, which has been mistaken for ergo, which is a fungus that produces hallucinogen ergotamine, which is commonly accepted as a cause of hysteria involved in cases of witchcraft. However, ergo is most commonly found on rye and other cereal grasses and does not grow on corn. So it doesn't make any sense.
No, corn gets that other fungus, but it's actually a delicacy in Mexico.
Oh, for reals?
I was in a corn maze and it had rained, so all the stalks of dried corn had turned. So you had this gray, lumpy stuff all coming out. Yeah, corn fungus. They put it in tostadas and tacos.
Anya Taylor-Joy was the first audition tape that director Robert Eggers saw, because this is her film debut.
I mean, she's fine in it. She has that good Puritan witchy look with those big old eyes.
With those big old doe eyes. Stephen King, who was often called the master of horror, stated that he was terrified by this film. Whenever I read these...
You're full of shit. He says
that's
that
what
all
I
the
think.
time. He's full of shit.
I think sometimes Steve-O is just trying to be a good soldier. Help out people.
He's being a good guy.
Right.
There's like a new director. He came over. He probably sucked his dick. And away they went.
Okay, I wasn't going to take it there, but fair enough.
I don't mean literally, but you know, he groomed the old master.
Is that also a euphemism? Anyway,
take it as you will.
Let's look at the cast and crew, shall we?
Let's go.
This is directed by
Who was Black Phillip?
Robert Eggers directed and wrote this, and you know him for the movies The Lighthouse, Nosferatu, The Witch, The Northman. He's done all sorts of stuff.
Did you see The Northman?
I have not. Have you?
Nope. Did you see The Lighthouse?
Nope, but I've heard people talk of it, so maybe we gotta add to the list.
I heard people talk about these 2 movies also. Who are these
Fair
people
enough.
we're listening to?
Just people.
Continue
people on
on.
the streets.
People.
Anya Taylor-Joy played Thomason. You know her for such things
Isn't that
as
the cat from That Darn Cat, or one of the witchy cat names? Thomasina.
possibly.
Keep talking.
Uh,
I'm Googling.
She was in The Queen's Gambit, 7
Yep.
episodes on Netflix in 2020. She was in The Witch in 2015. She was in The New Mutants in 2020. And she was in something called Morgan in 2016, playing the titular character. Interesting.
Yeah, Thomasina. The Three Lives of Thomasina.
Ralph Ineson played William. You know him from such things as, and he's got a great voice. It's kind of a
Yeah.
northern England kind of accent. It's super deep.
And he's super ripped on this too, because he's got I thought it was very perverted when he had to like take his daughter was taking his shirt off. That was a little pedo.
A little bit.
Taketh thy father's vestments off, Thomasina. I don't know, and wash his scrotum too while you're at
I
it.
don't remember that one. But you know him from The Witch in 2015, The Green Knight in 2021,
No,
The Creator in 2023,
no.
To Catch a Killer in 2023, and he actually was in Nosferatu.
I thought he did a great job, but apparently I've never heard of him or seen of him.
These are important questions. Kate Dickey played Catherine, who was the mom. You know her from such things as Red Road in 2006, Prometheus in 2012.
I did see that.
I don't remember her in it, so now I need to go back and watch it.
I don't remember her in it, but it also had another Game of Thrones alumni in there too.
It did. Who was it?
It was Tywin.
Was he in that one?
Yes.
Now I definitely need to go back and rewatch Prometheus. Charles Dance is who you're thinking of.
Charles Dance.
She was also in Filth in 2013.
Did not see that.
The Green Knight in 2021.
Oh, she was in The Green Knight also, huh?
Yep. I wonder why. It's a very popular thing. Sometimes these shows that are filmed in England, they just hire everybody. You're all in it.
There's the 5 British actors, so they just throw them in everything.
They 100% they do. Let's see. And she was in 5 episodes of Game of Thrones as Lysa Arryn.
Oh, and she was killing it, that's for sure.
She was good.
She plays up well.
Anybody else you want to know from the cast?
Did that little boy do anything?
Harvey Scrimshaw. Harvey Scrimshaw played Caleb, the little brother. You know him from such things as The Witch in 2015, The School for Good and Evil in 2022, Oranges and Sunshine in 2010, where he would have been like 4 or something.
Is this some British stuff? So he's retired, is that what I'm hearing?
Without Sin in 2022, 3 episodes, TV miniseries. That looks like the last thing he did was in 2022.
All right, bless him. He did a great job.
He wasn't bad. Let's look at the ratings, shall we? The Witch, currently 91% fresh on Rotten Tomatoes. Do you know what the audience gave it?
84.
61.
Ooh!
Boom goes the dynamite.
Oops. Horror fans were not impressed.
Not impressed. Let's look at the top critics here. Anybody? There's a million top critics. I'm just seeing if I can find one that is.
I thought we had Rex Reed.
We eventually have Rex Reed, but I like to have real critics first. We've got Peter Travers from Rolling Stone says.
All right, what kind of bullshit he got to say?
He's got some shit to say. He says, and there it is. Building his film on the diabolical aftershocks of Puritan repression, Eggers raises The Witch far above the horror herd. He doesn't need cheap tricks. Eggers merely directs us to look inside. Be warned, it'll scare the hell out of you. 3.5 out of 4.
That's all lies, first of all. That's all lies.
Amy Nicholson from MTV says, like the Puritans themselves, the movie shuns drama. It has too much moral virtue for jump scares. Original score C. So there you go.
All right.
Now, the moment we've all been waiting for. Using ChatGPT, I asked it to come up with a snarky review of this movie by the inimitable Rex Reed. And this is what he has to say. The Witch is a slow-burning exercise in atmospheric gloom where the scariest thing isn't the supernatural terror, but the fear that nothing will actually happen for 90 minutes.
Boom!
That's it. That's it! That's it, baby.
That's funny. That's
Good
funny.
stuff.
That is classic.
What is your rating, Aaron?
I gotta tell you, I would have totally panned it the first time as much like Nosferatu, boring and slow. But the second time, 10 years later, I actually like it a little bit better.
Boom.
At first, when it started, I was like, oh, yeah, here we go. But then I kind of fell into it. I'm giving it a better rating. I'm going to give it like a 3.75. I'm checking Craigslist out for 3.75 Black Crazy Phillips.
Okay. People get down on me because all my ratings are the same, and I'm not going to disappoint them.
They are the same.
I'm going to give it 3.0 out of 5. It's fine. It's fine. It's not scary. It is a it is a slow burn. There are good performances.
Yes.
There's a good atmosphere.
Yes.
There's questions.
The goat steals the show. I read that they had to do some re-editing because the goat was the star of the thing, so they had to add more scenes back to give the actors a chance to try to star in this thing. I read it. By God,
on the dark web.
True.
I don't believe that shit. Impossible.
Dude, that's because you've been around twin power, and now your mind's perverted.
I don't need to see it again.
No, you do. Now you're going to watch it again and imagine that there is no witch.
Okay, in 10 years, remind me. And then maybe I'll see what I can do.
Make a calendar reminder.
Please do. Any last thoughts on The Witch?
If someone knows where I can get a crazy effed up goat like that I can stake in my front yard this coming Halloween, I'll do it. I'll put on a flesh-colored bodysuit and dance around in my front yard with my goat and scare the crap out of my neighbors.
People will love it.
It'll be like George Costanza when he was going to streak, but he wore the bodysuit. That'll be me in my witchiness.
In all your witchy woman. So, thank you very much. We are on Threads, Blue Sky, Instagram, TikTok. You can also email us, the podcast that wouldn't die, at Gmail. We're on YouTube, and you can be watching our beautiful, attractive faces at this very moment, for goodness sakes.
That's right. You don't want to miss out on that.
You do not. We're also on Apple Podcasts, Spotify, anywhere the finer podcasts are available. So don't forget to like, share, rate, and review. Won't you?
Won't you please?
Aaron, what is your social media situation?
I got some media. I say just check out my Instagram because I feel like I'm tired of everything else. So go to my gram. Not that I'm not sick of Instagram too, but the Cult of Aaron. Join the cult. I also have artwork on Artsy and First Dibs. Tuck into my niche photography obsession with Polaroid. Boom.
Boom, boom, boom. As we like to do, we like to include the comments and questions of our friends across the interwebs. Aaron, what you got?
Dude, you told me to text them to you.
I
thought
know.
You were gonna read them.
No, this is your time to shine, Aaron.
Is this my time to shine? Well, as usual, all our shit comes from our good friends on the Ticker Talker.
Yep.
So We got some good talks about Jason and the Argonauts. They were asked to pick. People were asked to pick their favorite creature. Word warrior. Can't pick one. They're also fantastic. Supreme Team says Medusa. Other people commented that Jason and the Argonauts is their favorite movie. Another question about the various Ray Harryhausen monsters. How can we forget Kali? Gotta build a gun PLA. I don't know what that is. Says Kali was the most badass. Anti-Ghouls says Medusa's the best monster. Barkley Johnson said, I like the dinosaur, which I don't even know what that means.
Well,
so
there were other
Oh,
Harryhausen
the dinosaur
movies.
from 20,000 miles to the center of the effing earth or something like
Something
that.
like that.
Oh, no,
the beast from
there's
40,000
more.
fathoms.
No, there's
whatever.
more, you son of a... Yeah, that's the same comment. The dinosaur... no, I guess that's it. Oh, no. It's great. The Kraken head in Clash of the Titans was a molded addition to the creature's original head. Ray Harryhausen was a beloved genius. Someone else, Richard Red Toolbox comment, Cyclops for the win.
Boom.
I think that's enough. That's
All
a lot of
good stuff.
That's a lot of ticker talk. That's where we found our home. Now, if only some of them would listen to our podcast instead of just reacting to our TikTok advertisements.
There are many ways to love us, is what we're trying to say.
There are many ways, but the most important way is to send us cash. We'll post Kevin's Cash App there later.
I was going to say to listen to our podcast, but you know.
You can do that too.
Potato. Next week, we're discussing the horror new classic, Ready or Not, starring Samara Weaving. You got Adam Brody.
Samara, isn't that the chick from The Ring?
That's Samara.
And what did you say?
Samara.
Okay, you're right. That's radically different.
It's wildly different. Andy McDowell's in this too. I was shocked to discover.
I was shocked too. She's had some bad work.
Oh, she's aging gracefully. I don't appreciate
She is
that.
not. She's aging gracefully under someone's knife. I'll tell you that. Bless her.
Jesus. Where can we watch Ready or Not, you ask? Well, that's an amazing question.
Be prepared to pay. I went to my trusted Mubi and was let down.
Yeah, you can pay $3.99 and watch it on Apple TV, Amazon Prime, YouTube, or Fandango at home.
I paid $2.99 on the Jeff Bezos platform.
Well, there you go. Good stuff. Yeah. So send in your favorite scenes, favorite quotes, comments, and questions, and we may talk about it on the show. So thank you very much, and be well.
Oh, I trust you. We will comment about it if you comment on it. That's a promise from me to you.